Serial killers aren't just a modern problem, they have existed for centuries. And there are still some uncaught today. Serial killing dates back much further in history. In this list, we'll explore 10 serial killers from hundreds or even thousands of years ago. These killers caused fear and chaos just like modern ones do. Historians remember their horrific crimes and place them in a context of their times, showing that serial killers is not a new phenomenon. Hi, my name is Alina. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Liu Pengli was a prince in Zhejiang, China during the 1st century BC. He was part of the ruling family under Emperor Jin, his uncle, who was powerful and popular. Unlike his uncle, Liu Pengli became feared as he grew up. As a teenager and young adult, he would lead slaves on night raids. They would break into homes, attacking and killing civilians. Liu Pengli and his group became infamous in Chinese history. People living in Emperor Jin's territory were terrified of Liu Pengli's night attacks. These raids had no purpose other than causing harm, as Liu Pengli enjoyed seeing people beaten, raped, stabbed, and murdered. Over several years until 116 BC, his attacks resulted in more than 100 deaths. In the end, Liu Pengli was accused of murder by the emperor's court. Even though he came from a powerful family, his crimes were too serious to overlook. The court suggested he be executed immediately, calling him beyond redemption. However, Emperor Jin showed mercy and only exiled him. In 116 BC, Liu Pengli was expelled from the royal family, made a commoner and sent to Shenyang in present-day Hubei province. What happened to him after this is unknown. Locusta of Gaul was an ordinary Roman peasant, born in a countryside shortly after Jesus Christ's time. However, she became the first known female serial killer. Locusta had extensive knowledge of potions and used this skill to gain power in Rome. She made poisons and tested them on local children, resulting in many deaths, although the exact number is still debated by historians. She is known to have directly killed at least 5 people with her poison, with several other likely victims. Her most infamous poisonings were assassinations of Emperor Claudius and his son. Because of her skills, she became favored by the controversial Emperor Nero, who had her teach other poisoners and carry out assassinations on his behalf. After Nero's death, his successor Galba had Locusta executed to eliminate her threat. Despite Galba's short reign, he made sure to end Locusta's deadly influence, bringing an end to the world's first confirmed serial killer. Alice Kyteler was born in 1263 and became the first person in Ireland to be condemned for practicing witchcraft. However, she managed to escape to England or Flanders and disappeared. Alice was an Irish woman who married wealthy men multiple times. After each marriage, her husbands died under mysterious circumstances, allowing Alice to inherit their wealth. By the time her 4th husband realized something was wrong, he became ill and eventually died. Before his death, he suspected that Alice had poisoned him as she wanted his estate. In 1324, after his death, his children fought Alice for the inheritance. Alice was accused of being a witch, but she escaped Ireland and was never seen again. Instead, her servant was punished and burned at the stake for allegedly being a witch and working with Alice. Alice's fate after 1325 remains unknown, and it isn't clear if she continued her suspicious activities. Gilles de Rais was born in the early 1400s in France. He was a knight and a lord from a wealthy and powerful family in Brittany. Gilles played a significant role in the military during his time, serving as a companion in arms to Joan of Arc. He was a well-known leader in the French army, admired for his bravery and successful battles. However, by the late 1430s, his reputation was destroyed. Gilles was accused of raping, torturing, and killing up to 140 children across France. Around 1433, he began to step back from his military roles in the 100 Years' War and started spending his fortune on luxurious items like jewelry and food. His spending was so excessive that he had to sell his lands to pay his debts. His family, especially his younger brother, disapproved of his actions. By 1435, King Charles VII placed Gilles under interdict, meaning he couldn't participate in church activities. In May 1440, Gilles attacked a cleric in a local church and took over a local castle. This led to his arrest in September 1440. In October 1440, Gilles was put on trial in Brittany. He was accused of sexually abusing and murdering over 140 children. Found guilty, he was sentenced to be hanged. On October 26, 1440, Gilles de Rais and 2 of his servants were executed. Peter Stumpp was a German farmer born in 1535. He was accused of being a serial killer, a werewolf, and a cannibal. By the time he died in 1589, he was known as the Werewolf of Bedburg. In the 1580s, he went on trial for allegedly killing more than a dozen women and children. Stumpp claimed he had been practicing black magic since he was 12, and then the devil gave him a magical belt that turned him into a wolf. He used his power to hunt, kill, and eat children. Stumpp admitted to killing and eating 14 children, including his own son and 2 pregnant women. He said he used the unborn babies for black magic. He was also accused of having an incestuous relationship with his daughter, and together they were said to be killing children with the devil's help. On October 31st, 1589, Stumpp, his daughter, and his mistress were executed. His execution was extremely brutal. He was put on a wheel and his flesh was torn from his body. Then his limbs were broken and he was beheaded. His daughter and mistress were also flayed and strangled. Stumpp's head was placed on a pole in the center of the city, as a warning to others about the fate of werewolves and witches. Gilles Garnier was a hermit who lived near the town of Dole in France during the 1560s and 1570s. He got married and brought his wife to live with him. However, he struggled to provide enough food for both of them because he wasn't wealthy or skilled in finding food. To solve this problem, Garnier began kidnapping, killing, and eating local children. This was the story told at his trial in 1573. He was accused of murdering several young kids, cutting them up, and eating their flesh. According to legend, one night while hunting in the forest, a spirit appeared to Garnier and offered him an ointment that would turn him into a wolf, making hunting easier. Garnier accepted this offer and became able to hunt more effectively. Garnier confessed to killing 4 children between the ages of 9 and 12. He tore flesh from their limbs to eat and brought some of the meat home for his wife. He also attacked other children, but they survived when people discovered what he was doing, forcing him to flee. Garnier was found guilty of lycanthropy and witchcraft and was burned at the stake on January 18, 1573. Björn Pétursson was an Icelandic man born in 1555. At 15, he started working on a farm owned by a wealthy neighbor. When the neighbor died a few years later, his son, who was also friends with Björn, gave him a farm and a lot of land to help him out. Björn got married and settled down to farm the land. But things took a dark turn. Legends say that Björn killed between 9 and 18 people, including travelers passing through the area and young men who came to his farm looking for work. Some stories say he used an axe to kill them, while others claim he drowned them. As he gained more land and animals, locals grew suspicious. But the neighbors' influence helped him to stay safe from any accusations. However, by 1596, Björn was arrested and admitted to killing 9 people. When authorities searched his farm, they discovered more than twice that number of bodies buried there. Björn tried to claim the bodies were already buried when he arrived, and that he had just been waiting to report them. Nobody believed the story, and Björn was executed in 1596. His wife, who was pregnant with their son, was forced to watch the execution. Louis Hutchinson was a Scottish immigrant who came to Jamaica in the mid-1700s. He became infamous as Jamaica's first serial killer. Originally, Hutchinson moved to Jamaica to manage an estate called Edinburgh Castle, which later he legally owned. He also had a large number of cattle which he reportedly stole from his neighbors. Edinburgh Castle was in a remote area, and Hutchinson took advantage of this by luring travelers to his estate under the pretense of offering them rest. Once there, he would kill them for fun. Known as the Mad Doctor, Hutchinson's killings were described as thrill-seeking murders. They were rumors that he drank his victims' blood and disposed of their bodies in a sinkhole on his property, which became known as Hutchinson's Hole. Hutchinson's brutal reputation made him feared throughout Jamaica. His downfall came when he shot an English soldier who was trying to arrest him. Hutchinson fled to Old Harbour, but the British Royal Navy quickly captured him. After his arrest, his estate was searched, and authorities found 43 watches and a large amount of clothing, likely from his victims. Hutchinson was executed in Spanish Town Square, Jamaica in 1773. Juan Severino Mallari was a Filipino Catholic priest who became one of the highest-ranking native Filipinos in the Catholic Church in the early 19th century. However, he was also a serial killer who is believed to have murdered up to 57 people. From 1818 to 1826, Mallari was the parish priest in San Bartolome Church in Magalan. He was the first Filipino to hold that position there. Unfortunately, during his time as priest, he started to think that his mother was cursed. He believed that by killing people, he could somehow remove this curse and improve her health. This belief led him to commit a series of murders. For years, Mallari killed people in Magalan and throughout Pampanga. The bodies of at least 57 victims were discovered, but the authorities struggled to connect these murders to one person due to the variety of locations and methods used. They thought there might be multiple killers, or that these were the results of domestic issues and robberies. They had no idea that a single priest was behind all of these crimes. In 1826, Mallari became ill and another priest came to take care of him. The visiting priest discovered a large amount of blood-stained clothing and other belongings from the murder victims. This led to an investigation and Mallari was arrested. He spent the next 14 years in prison while the Spanish authorities in the Philippines debated his fate. Some doctors suggested that Mallari was mentally ill and should be sent to an asylum. However, in 1840, the Spanish government decided to execute him by hanging. John Lynch was born in Ireland in 1812. In his short life, he became Australia's most notorious serial killer. He was sent to Australia as a convict and worked on a farm in the Berrima district. In 1836, he was accused of killing a fellow convict but was found not guilty. Over the next 6 years, Lynch became increasingly violent. He escaped from his work gang and moved around the Berrima district. In 1841, he was reported to have murdered people traveling between Berrima and Camden. Later in 1841, Lynch committed a major crime. He went to the farm of a man named John Mulligan, killed Mulligan and his family, and took over the farm. He tried to live under a different name, John Dunleavy, in order to hide his crimes. But then Lynch killed again that year. He was eventually caught, tried, and sentenced to death. In April 1842, Lynch was executed by hanging with more than 10 murders attributed to him. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!